Hey, okay, so we're doing day 2, and you're gonna need a mini band, sliders, and dumbbells, and a step or box or chair as we go. So if you don't have sliders, you can use either socked feet on a tile floor, or you could use paper plates on a carpeted floor. Either way, or if you would just want to go get some furniture sliders, which are super cheap at like Home Depot or something. Okay, so the first 2 exercises we're going to do are the one leg squat to chair and the boat alternating chest presses. So one leg squat to chair, you're just going to have a bench or chair or whatever you have available to you at a height that's good for you. So if this is too low, you could always like stack a book or pillows or something to make it a little bit higher till it gets to a point where it's comfortable for you that you can do the exercise in a good way. So we're going to be doing one leg squat to the chair. If you need to, you can start by just having a light pressure of your other leg, just as a little guidance if you want it on the way down, but your focus is on the one leg. So you're coming down under control, coming all the way to the chair, sit, and then stand back up. Ideally, you're going to be doing 8 on one leg and then 8 on the other side. So ideally, you want to work to where you don't have to use this other leg at all. You want to be able to come down nice and controlled. Again, you want to sit all the way down with control and then drive to come back up and come back up with control. So ideally, you want to make sure when you're coming down, you're not wobbling all over, or that you're really strong up until a certain point and then you plop down. You want to avoid the plop, really land softly, and then if you can't get back up without having to like really toss yourself through, then just use your other foot lightly to help you to come back up. I'd rather you come back up with good form than to try and like contort your body to get yourself back up. So again, we're gonna have one leg balance. You're gonna control it really slow and controlled the whole way down to the box, and then strong. And again, if you need to use the foot, use the foot. If not, then great, don't use it. If this gets to be real easy for you and you can do this with no problem, up and down for all 8 reps, then grab a dumbbell and you can do it with a dumbbell. So after that, you're going to come down to the ground. You're doing a boat alternating chest press. So you're going to have your dumbbells. You're going to lay on the ground in a boat position. So boat just meaning, you know, this is kind of your boat pose position. So we're going to keep our head on the ground though when we do it. So I'm going to have you start by bringing yourself in that kind of dead bug position. Engage the lower abs and make sure your ribs are staying connected to your hips as your legs go out. And then from here, you're doing an alternating chest press while holding the boat pose. So if you need to, bring the legs a little bit higher, or you could even bring the knees in, but just make sure that the knees aren't in past 90 degrees. Keep them out so the core actually has to stay engaged, and then do those alternating chest presses. And you're gonna be doing 10 on each side. And again, it's nice to do it on the ground because you could bring the elbow to tap the floor on each rep, knowing that you're not going too far. But really making sure that 1, the lower abs stay engaged and pressed down like we did on day 1 with the dead bug, and 2, that the ribs aren't flaring up, but the ribs are staying down and connected to the hips, okay? So go back through those two or 3 more times, and then go to the next grouping. So the next grouping is a lateral lunge and Renegade Row. So you're gonna do 12 lateral lunges. So you can either do, again, you could do a goblet, use the dumbbell for a goblet style, or you can have 2 dumbbells at your sides, whatever is more comfortable for you. Or you could even do 1 on the opposite side of the side that you're going to. That's fine too. So whatever you like the best. Lots of options. So you have 12 lateral lunges. So when you do a lateral lunge, we want to make sure that we step out but then that we are letting that hip kind of pull back. Pull that hip back into the socket and drive back up. You're gonna do all reps on one side, all 12 to one side, and then all 12 to the other. So really making sure as you take that lunge out and drive through that it's not about how low you go, it's about getting that activation into the glute. It's almost like you're getting into the hip and then powering out of it. Getting into the hip and powering out of it. Really making sure that the core stays strong and stable and that your whole upper body just stays relaxed as the lower body does all the power. So again, you'll do 12 to one side and then switch and do 12 to the other. Sitting your glute, sitting that hip back and coming back out. It's almost like you're winding up that hip, boom, and then powering back to the center. Coming down and coming back up. So 12 to one side, 12 to the other. And then you're gonna come down to the ground. You're gonna do Renegade Rows. Depending on the type of dumbbells that you have, if you have ones that are more squared off, you could do it with your hands on. If they're more rounded like these, you might wanna do one row with one hand on the floor instead. It just depends on how comfortable you are, as long as it's not too rolly for you. So just kind of play around with what feels best for you with the dumbbells that you have. So when we do a Renegade Row, I guess first you could do it a modified way, which would be to do it still from your knees. So you would be kind of on all fours, then shift forward, so you're in a plank position, and then from here, you would be pulling one arm up and then the other arm up, and you're gonna do 8 per side. If that's pretty easy for you, then I would bring your feet wide. So the wider the base that you have, the easier it's gonna be. The closer your feet together, the harder it's gonna be. Your hands are gonna be closer together, your feet are wide apart, but you're trying to maintain that plank position. Your core and your butt are tight as you pull one at a time, nice and controlled as you come back down with the hand. Okay, so 8 per side. You want a nice, perfectly straight body, core is nice and strong and tight, and you're just alternating arms as you go. So back and forth between those two, 2 or 3 more times, and then we're gonna be staying on the ground but grabbing those sliders. So we have 15 of each of these. We have 15 hamstring curls and then 15 pull-ins. So when we do the hamstring curls, you're going to have your heels on the sliders or have your heels on your paper plates or just with soft feet on a tile floor. You're gonna lay down like you're gonna do a glute bridge. You're gonna come up into that glute bridge position and then keep your ribs down. And sometimes I like to just keep my head up, and that might mean that you want to put a pillow under your head, but basically it just locks your ribs down so that you can't use your lower back, and you can use your glutes and your hamstrings to do the work. So you're gonna slowly let your legs go out until they're perfectly straight, slide back in, come back up, and then slide out nice and controlled until you're fully extended, come back in, come back up, and nice and slow on the way out. So it's almost like you want to get like 6 seconds of your heels sliding out, controlled on each side, and come back in and come back up. So you're gonna do 15 of those. If they get real easy, don't let your butt hit the floor. So when you go out, you're gonna go all the way out to that full extension and pull all the way back in without resting your butt on the ground. If that then gets easy, then you could go to single leg. So a couple different options there as well. And And then the next one you're gonna do is the Slider Pullins. So you're gonna this time have your toes on the sliders. You're gonna be in that push-up plank position, so high plank. And then from here, you're just pulling your knees in towards your chest till you get to about knees under hips, and then straighten back out. Pull in and straighten back out. Pull in and straighten back out. Really trying to maintain good posture the whole time. Pull in and pull out. As you are pulling in, think about the lower abdominals engaging to initiate the pull, to pull you in, okay? Trying not to rock or shift your body at all, but letting the legs do the work and all of that coming from the core. So going back and forth between those two or three more times. And then again, you're doing 15 reps of each of those. And then our last grouping, we have our band, runner, hydrants, and bicycles. So we just need our mini band for this. You're gonna take the mini band, place it just above your knees. And then, again, you can hold on to something to make sure that you're not gonna fall over. But you're going to, so almost think about taking that like runner stance. So our knee is right over our ankle and it's loose. Our hip is in line as well. And then we're gonna take the opposite knee, the foot that's off the ground, and you're gonna bring it out and back on a diagonal and come back in. So kind of like doing a fire hydrant. Pull out and back and come back in. Now, if you wanna make it a little more challenging, try not to hold on to something. But if you feel like you're really fighting to keep your balance, I'd rather you hold on to something just slightly, even just one finger, to keep you there, to make sure that your hip stays in good alignment. This hip is doing a static exercise by stabilizing, while this one is doing a dynamic. And these are working both of your glute medius, which is really great, especially for runners. So then once you do all reps on one side, I think it's 15, all 15 reps on one side, you're gonna do all 15 on the other. So again, you're balancing on your one leg, your hip is staying in line, like we talked about before with those like 2 lines on each side of your hip. You wanna make sure that you're not sinking out into your hip, but that it stays in line. And then the knee comes out and comes back in. Out on a diagonal and back in. Out on a diagonal, pause, and come back in. Okay, so again here, out on a diagonal, pause, and back in. So I'm not going straight out to the side, I'm not going straight back, but I'm going on the diagonal and come back in. Okay? So you'll do 15 one side, 15 on the other side, and then you'll come down to the floor and you have 25 bicycles, just your typical bicycles. Again, making sure the lower abs are staying tight and down into the floor. You're gonna go opposite elbow to opposite knee. They don't have to touch, but you're just gonna be going back and forth here. You could play with some speed. You could go real slow, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you could go, 4 quick, and then go back to slow. However you want to do it, but you're going to do 25 to each side, and then go back and forth between those 2 exercises. And that's the end of day 2. Let me know if you have any questions.